Welcome back to Low Carbon Lifestyle. In my second episode way back in April, I mentioned how we had changed electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, to a tariff known as the Agile Tariff. I said that if we all changed when we used our electricity each day, reducing our demand at that peak time, we'd give ourselves a nice little magic trick to reducing emissions. 8 months later, how's it going? What does it mean for everyday life? And is it saving us any money, or more importantly, any carbon?
And this is a little series about a low carbon lifestyle. Sometimes this whole sustainable living can feel well intimidating, whether it's thinking you need to buy an electric car or install solar panels on your roof. The majority of us can't do that overnight. We can't do that straight away. Or it looks like completely changing the way you live, living off the land or turning vegan overnight, both of which are fantastic things. But for this mini series, we're going to talk through how each of us can lower our emissions in everyday life and what that might look like.
Episode 12 is 8 months of Octopus Energy's Agile Tariff. So first of all, what is it? The Octopus Agile Tariff is a time of use tariff, an electricity tariff that varies every half an hour of the day. It uses the smart meter in our house to measure how much electricity you're using at any given moment. And it bills you for it. Dead simple. So as the energy markets chop and change, Octopus will be charged different amounts for the energy that they sell you. Usually an electricity company like Octopus would do a calculation on those varying costs, and they'd sell every kilowatt hour to you at a constant rate. And that would be usually between 13 and 17 pence per kilowatt hour. So Octopus give you a variable tariff to move you away from the most expensive electricity, which, and we'll get onto this a bit later, also means we're more or less moved away from the highest emission electricity. It saves them money, and it could save us money. So what has Octopus Agile meant for our everyday life? Instinctively, that means we don't tend to boil water or use the oven between 4 and 7 p.m. every day. And that's about it. That in turn means we eat a little bit later than we might. And at times it's meant we have long, late dinners hanging out as a three, me, my wife, and our mate Mim, who lives with us too. She should be on Bake Off, watch this space. Sometimes it pushes back the line of duty binge to later on in the evening. And I can imagine not cooking between 4 and 7 p.m. might be a bit of a nightmare for many people, particularly if there are kids involved. For us at the moment, it works quite well. Another impact of the tariff is actually a bit more fun, and it's meant that we're regularly checking when might be the best time to put a wash on, to bake a loaf of bread, or to charge up stuff. And it's meant that my most used app has actually become an Octopus one, and it's regularly led to chats with the crew saying, when should I put the whatever on? We even have Armour Shower, where we try and unplug everything. About once a month it gets really exciting. We get offered negative electricity prices. It's usually really small amounts, but we're getting paid a tiny bit to use electricity. And on more than one occasion that's meant I've started getting a bread ready or something else ready to bake knowing that we're going to get paid. The negative pricing, if I'm honest, is usually overnight when demand's lowest, so it often means holding off on the dishwasher or putting our tiny understairs towel radiator on to use the electricity over the night. On the 22nd of May this year, we got paid 10p per kilowatt hour for an hour during the day, and we got paid smaller amounts for pretty much the whole day. It's pretty absurd. I even invited one of the only people I know with an electric vehicle, friend of the vlog, Nikki Dravers, check out the video up here. I invited Nikki to come and charge up Refuse's van whilst it was negative. So Nikki got a few watt hours of energy, half a mile or so, and a cup of tea, which was quite fun. Okay, let's just stop a minute. Low carbon lifestyle, this series I've been doing tends to be about using less energy, being more efficient with our energy, but now I'm being paid to use more energy. Why and how could that be low carbon? Well, I think that's actually a pretty good question, and it goes back to the thinking around energy markets. The stuff I talked through in episode 2, that little low carbon magic trick that I want us all to do. And it's all based around the peaks of electricity demand. When we all use electricity, the national grid is under stress. And that could be everyone putting a kettle on at the half time of a football match or on Corrie, or everyone putting the oven on when they get home from work, or maybe in the next few years, everyone getting home from work and plugging in an electric vehicle. When we do these things at similar times, we see peaks in the energy demand. We need more power and therefore more power stations. And if we look at our energy markets, that means the most flexible generators are put on when the demand is high. The most flexible generators tend to be the gas turbines that can ramp up and down fairly quickly. We can't, for example, suddenly ask a wind turbine or a solar panel or actually a nuclear power station to give us more power instantaneously. So the low carbon generators can't really meet those peaks. So with Octopus Agile Tariff, the grid is benefiting by us all shifting our electricity demand out of that peak demand. So it's cheaper for us to use energy outside of that 4 to 7 p.m. peak. And usually it would mean that it's lower carbon to use electricity out of that peak as well. It's not always true because the strength of wind could change rapidly across the country. It may be windier at 6 p.m. than it is at midnight. So the carbon intensity of the grid can change, but it's usually true. The CO2 of the grid and the cost of the grid follow a similar trend. So Octopus Agile customers shifting their energy use out of those peaks helps us all. And when we start to transition to heat pumps, check out my video on them here, and electric vehicles, shifting the demand for heat and to charge the vehicles away from those peaks can really save us money. It can reduce the demand risk on the grid and reduce CO2 emissions linked to electricity generation. Time of use tariffs like Octopus Agile will really help make the low carbon future quite cheap. And there are even apps that will control the flow of energy in your home to minimise that cost. So the important question, what have our costs been so far? Have we seen any saving in our electricity bills? So we've been using electricity from Octopus since the start of April. Since then, we've used 931 kilowatt hours of electricity, and that's in about 8 months. That would roughly have emitted 204 kilograms of CO2, which, if you're interested, is roughly the same amount of CO2 as our gas use emitted in October. But that 931 kilowatt hours of electricity has cost us just over £80 at an average rate of 8.9 pence per kilowatt hour, plus the 20p per day, £41.90 standing charge over those months. We came to Octopus from Bulb, another 100% renewable electricity supplier, who had a pretty cheap rate, but a rate that didn't vary throughout the day. Bulb's tariff was £13.52 pence per kilowatt hour and 21.46 pence per day of standing charge. So using the same amount of energy would have cost us £126 and £45 standing charge over that time. So overall, since the start of April, since moving to Octopus Energy and the Agile tariff, we've saved £46 and 23 pence compared to that old tariff with Bulb. So that's roughly about £5.80 per month, and over a year, if we get similar energy use, we'd save about £70. And that's not bad for all you money saving experts out there.
On all kinds of money matters. So very varied, and let's get cracking.
So a time of use tariffs might not be right for you. If all your electricity demand was between 4 and 7, it would be pretty annoying and pretty expensive. But if you could shift your washing, your charging, your cup of tea, even your cooking using an electric hob or oven outside of those hours, then I reckon it could save you lots. And if you're an electric vehicle owner or have electric powered heating like a heat pump, or storage heaters, or a one-off towel radiator like we do, or underfloor heat mats that are electrically powered, then you could shift when you use that heat or when you charge that car to save much, much more. And whilst you're at it, you'd save a bit of carbon too. It could be worth a try. If you were interested in switching, here is my shameless plug for my code, which I'll link below. Both of us would get 50 quid towards our bills at the moment, which would be about a third of my predicted electricity costs for this year, which is kind of cool. If you're not interested in switching, then I would encourage you to move your electricity use away from that peak, away from the peak electricity demand as much as you can anyway. It would reduce emissions linked to the grid, just that little bit. And there's actually apps like the National Grid ESO app. What does ESO stand for?
Energy System Operator.
And there's websites like MyGridGB and even Twitter accounts like the Bulb bot or When Should I Bake? That can help you understand when the electricity is lowest carbon. Please do have a look. So that's all I've got planned for today. Thank you so much for watching. I would be thrilled if you could like this video. It helps other people find it. If you could subscribe to this channel I'm nearly on 100 subscribers, which is amazing. Could I get 100 for Christmas? If you could follow me on Twitter maybe, and get in touch with me wherever you can find me. Thank you so much, and see you soon.